Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that get together with live television on amateur TV. We have up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater. It spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll see the exact frequencies we receive and transmit on, and also a little background information on the club. Also on that page you'll find a link that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock on YouTube. Also, we'd like to thank the CTAC Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone 103.5 for Cougar Mountain, which we utilize for this net. So I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact before the net gets fully underway on the 08 machine. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. Hearing none, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Signed in by video link already is Ron, KD7QKU. Bob, K9PQ, in and out. Richard, K7ITX. Jim, N7QO. And myself, Dave, KD7ZYM. Is there anybody else that wishes to check into the net?
Dave, this is James, WW7N. Kind of having a slow boot up this evening, but I'm an enthusiast too.
W7N, well, you have a light rail going in your backyard. Fantastic. Well, let's start off the net with Ron, KD7QKU.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening to everyone. It looks like Richard just sent a message there saying that Echolink wasn't working for him, so he would join us on Zoom. So maybe he'll get it going. Let's see. I think of what I did. Yesterday, I kind of went shopping. I was going to get gas in the car, but the service station was busy and they had a gas truck in there with a trailer unloading fuel, so it made a mess. So I went on down the road to McLenna's. I decided I'd go down and see if I could find a couple of azaleas. A couple of years ago, I suppose, a year ago, we bought 6 azaleas and planted along the east side of the house, kind of to cover up the foundation around by the deck again. 2 of them died. 2 of them, or 4 of them, grew real well. They were healthy. We thought they were really healthy plants, so we bought them. So I went back to McLennan's where we got them. Well, lo and behold, they don't have any more, of course. They didn't hardly have any. So then I went to Home Depot, and then went to Fred Meyer's, and then the very last I went to Lowe's. Well, Lowe's had something similar, but it wasn't exactly the same color. But anyway, they were about half the price of Home Depot, so I bought 2 of them, haven't planted them yet. Then I came home and got gas. The gas was $4.51.9, I think. I think it had been actually been like $1.45 a few days ago. It had dropped a little bit in price, but I wasn't smart enough to stop and get gas, so I passed it up. And let's see, today, I went over to the Tacoma Ham Club, to their Saturday get-together at the clubhouse. There's a lot of people there. The last Saturday of the month is kind of a swap meet or giveaway or whatever. There's one table that people bring things that are free, and then other people have things on their table that they'll sell. It wasn't anything I wanted that was free or giveaway, but they provide lunch on Saturday, so I ended up having lunch. And there's 3 or 4 guys I kind of end up visiting with. They're okay, I guess. Not too much really in common, but one guy kind of dominates the storytelling and stuff. There's always one guy that he's kind of big guy and he's loud. He kind of always has something to say. He's all right. His name is, I shouldn't say his name, but anyway. Yeah, it was okay. I was there a couple hours, 2.5 hours or something. I thought maybe I'd say Wade. I almost sent Wade a text telling him I'd pick him up, but I was kind of late. I figured he was already over there. If he'd have texted me, I would have went with him, but there's no sign of that. So when I got there, I didn't see him, so he must have been busy this weekend. So that's about it over here in Bellevue. Let's see, I will say one more thing. I've had 1.06 inches of rain, so we've had a little over an inch of rain in 2 days. And it's kind of sprinkling, I think, out right now. And we have a little bit of wind. I don't know what the temperature is. I forgot to look. So, back to net, KD7QKU.
WU7N.
On the list was Bob, G9PQ.
In and out tonight. I've got a headache, but I'll stick around and do the switching. But I don't want to transmit. Back to net K9PQ.
9PQ, we got your 7-3, we might say, for the net this evening. And we heard that Richard was having a time G7ITX getting in on the internet, so we'll pass on him. So that leaves us Jim in 7QO in Covington.
And 7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. And 7QO. Well, azaleas. I'm proud of you, Ron. We haven't gotten around to doing anything around the yard other than just cleaning up stuff that some storm brought down or blew down or blew in from someone else's property. And we've got all kinds of stuff around here, so it's been a matter of cleaning up stuff, but everything kind of needs to be trimmed a little bit. The grass hasn't been growing lately, so we haven't had a chance to really, we haven't had a need to cut the grass this year as of yet. Have a lot of critters running around the neighborhood, in particular rabbits. It seems like you can't sit down in the living room for more than half an hour or so, and some rabbit hurriedly runs by the patio doors. I don't know where they're all coming from, but I guess the rabbits around here are making little rabbits, so that's the way it is. And let's see, we've had quite a fair amount of rain here as well. I don't have a rain gauge set up. I've got one. It's in a box somewhere. I don't know which box it's in, but I've been meaning to set it up for the last 20 years, but I haven't found it yet. I'll get to it one of these days. But yeah, it's been wet here, and it's raining now. Not really hard, but light. And so I've got better than average pictures on the 1.2 gigahertz tonight. Let's see, I have 51 degrees here at the house just south of Covington. And Bob, sorry you have a headache. My wife and I both had a headache yesterday. We attribute that to the time that we spent outside. I don't know, there was a strange odor in the air. Not exactly sure what it was, but it didn't smell too good. We thought we'd go outside and get a little fresh air, and maybe that was a mistake. Anyway, what else is going on around here? My coffee maker decided to bite the dust this morning, so I had to go out and buy a new one this morning. Fortunately, I found one that was on sale, like $50 off. I had no idea those things were that expensive. So I got a basic model for, it was, how much did I wind up paying for that thing? $80, normally $130. And it's like, really? I don't know, maybe I should not have got another Keurig. Maybe I should have gotten just, I've got two normal coffee pots where you have to scoop the coffee in there. One is a Mr. Coffee and one is, I forgot the name of it. It uses a conical type filter element. But if I had gone with either of those that I have here, I would have had to go out and buy some more coffee grounds because I don't have any coffee grounds around the house. But I've got lots of K-Pods, so I thought, well, I'll just get another Keurig. It's more convenient, and my wife certainly doesn't mind using that as badly. So, it's certainly easier to clean. So, hopefully this will last me another decade or two. That was the excitement of the day. Back to you, Dave, at 7QO.
And it's time for an ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, let's go to Jim. We just went to Jim in 7Q. James, WU7N.
Okay, I'm going to try a brief test here on Echo Link to make sure it's working. It sounds like I'm coming through.
WU7N disconnected.
To make sure Echo Link was working, because I think I heard someone say earlier on that it was not, so it might be something to do with the capital I internet or the installation of the Echo Link device or something at that end, at the client end. So, well, anyway, let's see. Rabbits. I've seen one rabbit this spring. I think the bobcats and coyotes have really cut down on our population of rats and rabbits around here, because I'm not seeing either one of those this year. But I did see one rabbit run across the road when I was out walking a few days ago, so I guess they're still around. Coffee maker right here. I don't use it. I saved it because I thought I might be powering a conference room with coffee, but that didn't work out, and it's been sitting there for a long time. I guess you got a Keurig. I have a Keurig too that I'm not really using just at the moment, but it sounds like you are fully coffee machined. That's good. Plus you do have warranties, whereas my warranty consists of just the statement you can't give it back. So that's, I don't think this is the one I used for the manufacture of the dangerous hallucinogenic drugs. And if it was, I rinsed it out, so it should be fine. But anyway, well, if anyone else needs a coffee machine, talk to me first. I think I've got a couple of those that are like little 1 or 2 cupper ones that you see in the hotel rooms. I actually have a couple of those too. As I clean things out here and look at things, I'm starting to look at things pretty hard. I think some of it might be going, maybe Craigslist, but maybe just Goodwill or Salvation Army, not sure. The other thing, you had 2 plants die, Ron, and then the rest of them made it. That's really good. I've had one plant that's managed to survive me consistently over the years. That's a plant that actually came with his house when I bought it. and it died, but I rescued one little leaf off it and put it in water, and it sprouted. And so now I have son of plant from the original plant. But I even managed to kill a cactus inside the house. Someone gave me a cactus, and it's all of a sudden I looked one day and it was all like caved in. And they say there's only two things that can kill a cactus. One is overwatering, and the other is some sort of a mold or something, or it will attack them. Otherwise, they're impervious. Well, I managed to kill it anyway. So I don't know. I noticed that Grocery Outlet was selling seeds. Think about that. Grocery Outlet had a end cap selling garden seeds for all kinds of food, like, you know, carrots and potatoes and stuff. That doesn't bode well. I went ahead and bought some cans of corned beef hash for my hoarder supply for the next apocalyptic event we have. You know, COVID was just practice. Bags of lentils for $1.28, so I might have to go back and stock up on lentils too. So anyway, that was my. You can see how exciting my day was. It was a trip to Grocery Outlet and the post office. And other than that, boy, it was a pretty laid-back day. I'm taking care of a neighbor's cat, and I think the cat has decided it is acceptable for me to feed her and clean out her litter box. It's taken, you know, most of the week to get to that point, but the cat does not bolt out of the room when I walk in there, so it'll be interesting to see. I think the owner's supposed to be returning tomorrow if that all goes according to plan, so we'll have to see tomorrow morning when I feed the cat if it actually, you know, looks at me or something. It's been kind of an interesting experience. It's in this house that I don't have here. Is they have cable, and they have a huge, giant, big screen TV. And it is just amazing. All the screens I look at, I was thinking about it after I looked at that screen. These screens are all pretty old. Even my latest and greatest computer has an older monitor on it because it does what I want it to do. But oh my goodness, you get one of those big, vibrant Sony, huge, giant screens. The definition, you just feel like you can just reach out and touch the people on the screen. That's quite a change. Plus, I just haven't learned how to use the cable, I suppose, or maybe you digitally record everything and then go back later. The commercials drive me nuts. Anything I watch has no commercials on it. It's a change for me to be interrupted every 3 minutes with 5 minutes of commercials. But I guess you learn how to get around that somehow. Highly entertaining to see what the choices are, and there's been a few that pop up. I go, I'd like to watch that, and it says, okay, that'll be $5.99. I go, no, stop, back out, because I don't want to mess up her bill somehow, or, 2 months from now she has a $400 bill because I accidentally started something and didn't know what I was starting. So anyway, well, that's been about as exciting as the events I have to report. This is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Let's turn it back to Dave, our net control.
This is Dave, WW7ZYM in Lake City. Oh my. I guess my accounting is for the last 2 days. Yesterday, I was thinking I wanted to work in the yard, but then it was rainy in the morning, and I said, well, I guess I'm not going to do that, so I'll look to do something inside the house. Then by noon, the sun came out, so I said, well, I think I'll go out and work on the yard. And then I was cleaning up some leaves and getting the trash out of the backyard, and I rubbed by my man-eating rose bush that decided to spear me in the hand while I went by it. So serving a little bit of a Band-Aid patch with that, so I've survived. So anyway, that was kind of interesting. Then today I was back in the house and I was looking at books and manuals that I had, and I found one on DOS and Windows 95. So I thought, well, I no longer have any machines that are running on that, so I think I'll get rid of those. So I've got them in a pile to I don't know if I should give them to Goodwill or the Library Foundation for their things, or just put them in the recycle bin. So I think the recycle bin may win. technology information we no longer need to use. The round file, as they say. Well, this is Dave, KD7ZYM. So that's about what's been happening with me today, doing some household chores and sort of resting from garden work from yesterday. So let's go back to the top to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here again. Well, I looked at the thermometer, it was 52 degrees, so just a tad warmer than Jim. And, yeah, Jim was saying these bushes get overgrown. They do, you know, if you don't keep them trimmed back all the time. They get really out of hand. So you have to do that. And I've been told, and I don't know how true it is, that landscaping is really only good for about 12 years, and then it's kind of overgrown. But I don't know. I think some of the bushes we had in Bellevue were 50 years old. This one rhododendron in the front yard over there was like a tree. I had to put up scaffolding to trim it. It was really big. So you were talking about rabbits. Well, you know, baked rabbit is pretty good. You could probably stop by the feed store and kind of fatten that rabbit up and you know, put out a trap, you know, put the food under a box and put a stick and tie a string to it, and when he goes under there to eat, just jerk the stick out and you got dinner. Fresh rabbit. So that reminds me of a story that I read to my wife. So the governor, I can't say the lady's name, of South Dakota, it's a lady, and she wrote a book, I guess, and in the book she told about a few things that she had done, and people really, I guess, got all upset. But I can relate to her because I grew up in Eastern Washington. So she talks about shooting a dog herself, taking him down to the gravel pit and shooting him, and then she talks about shooting some goats and killing them, and then she talks about some horses. Well, when I was a kid and grew up in Eastern Washington, you know, anything that a male animal was worthless. You only needed one. And so if you had calves and they turned out to be a male calf, well, you have two choices. It's either get rid of it or you feed it and then until it's big enough that you can eat. And most of the people didn't want to do that. I had a friend and they raised goats and they milked goats. And you know, 50% of the baby goats are male goats. And so they always knocked them in the head. You know, as soon as they discover them that they're male, well, they knock them in the head and feed them to the pigs, you know. That's how I got my goat. I saved one from being knocked in the head and brought him home. And my dad said, you know, what did you do that for? We don't need a goat. Well, we had him for about a year, and then I came home one day from school, and the goat was skinned, and he was butchering it. So we had goat meat I ate my buddy. So, I mean, I can sort of relate. The you know, rest of the farming world is a little different than it is over here in the city. People, they don't keep things. She said the dog was no good and untrainable. And you know, and I had a dog like that. Somehow I got a English setter. It was a Llewellyn setter. It was white, had a little bit of brown and black on its head. It was called a Llewellyn setter. Beautiful dog. And I don't know how I got it. It was a young dog, probably a year old or 2 years old. But it was the dumbest dog and the stupidest dog. It would go poop in the doghouse. So I had a really nice golden retriever at the time, and they both slept in the doghouse. I couldn't figure out why the golden retriever wouldn't go in the doghouse, so I went out and looked, and the setter had pooped in it. So, and I tried to teach him how to hunt, and I tried to take him on. He was untrainable, really. I mean, his mother was the same way, I heard, when I got him. But she'd been hit by a car, and everybody said that she was kind of stupid, but they thought it was because she'd been hit by a car. Well, it wasn't, I don't think. It was just in their genes. He was the stupidest dog I ever owned. So I rather than shoot him, which was I only had two choices. So I put a stake in the ground in a bucket of water out by the road and a sack of dog food, and I put free. And when I came home from work, the dog and the chain and the stake and the sack of food was gone. So I guess he's somebody else's dog. Yeah, so in Eastern Washington, like I say, if something isn't useful, people don't usually feed it, don't keep it around. It was the same way with, like I say, with male calves or anything else. Cats, oh my goodness. I'm sure there was just absolutely millions of cats that was killed over there. People just put them in a gunny sack and put a rock in it, throw them in the canal, or take them down to the river. It was a kind of a shame when the water would go out of the canal in the fall. It would be littered with sacks, and you knew there was dead cats in them. It was not good, but that was the way of life over there. So that's it for now. I do have a little more, I guess, next time around. So back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to Jim, M7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Jim, you can't give something back. Yeah, that sounds like pretty much all of us here. All of us have stuff we want to get rid of. I think all of us have to thrift stores. Dave can tell you the ones that will take anything, and he's the resident expert on that. I wrote down one time he said something, and I made some notes on where they would take anything and what places would take just specific items. I don't remember what I did with the list, but it's around here somewhere. But I haven't had a chance to really go through things that well anyway, as of yet. And let's see, killed a cactus. Yeah, you know, I have one. This cactus was a tiny thing. It was in a pot maybe about 3 inches in diameter and perhaps 4 inches tall. The cactus itself was all of about 1.5 inches or 2 inches tall. And it was sitting around here for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years. And the last time I went and looked at it, it was dead. So I don't know what happened to it. It must have had a heart attack or something. I couldn't tell that there was anything growing on it. I certainly didn't give it too much water. I don't know. And maybe it just died of old age or something. I don't know. And let's see. Taking care of the cat. Well, I am curious when the new owner, when the original owner shows up, is the cat going to want to stay with you or go back to where he was? If you're too nice to him, the cat might want to stay with you. He may not show that now, but watch what happens when the owner comes back. Ron, baked rabbit. Yeah, that sounds good, actually. These rabbits are kind of tiny, though, kind of scrawny. And I don't know, other critters around here. I have not yet seen a deer this year. I have not seen raccoons. For that matter, I haven't even seen like coyotes around here. I have seen peanuts, and I think there's probably a neighbor around here that puts out some peanuts for the squirrels. So probably a squirrel brings peanuts into my yard every now and then. So I'll bet there are squirrels around here. Either that or the rabbits are stealing from the squirrels. I don't know. Let's see. Male animals. Only need one. Yeah, I don't know. We got to be careful about that. And I've been to countries where there are skinned animals hanging in the windows. I've seen dogs, I've seen goats, and I don't know. Interesting that the dog just kind of disappeared. I hope someone got the dog who wants a pet and doesn't mind it. If the dog were just outside and he didn't mind sleeping in the dog house, well, okay. Otherwise, if it happens again, I don't know, you might... Well, I better not say that. Anyway, back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO, and for an ID, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, talking about rabbits, I can remember when I was in grade school, my dad was going to stew a rabbit, and so I remember this was back in the days when we had a wooden coal stove. Fired up the wooden coal stove, got it up to the temperature in a big pot, put the rabbit in the pot with boiling water, or brought the water up to boiling, and added all kinds of vegetables, including chunks of potatoes and a little thickening agent of flour. But the main ingredient he added that he loved to do was add wine. So it was a shot for the wine into the stew. And about every 15 minutes, it was one shot for the wine and 2 shots for my dad. Another 20 minutes would go by, it was another shot for the rabbit and 2 shots for my dad. Then after about an hour, it was 2 shots to the rabbit and 4 shots to my dad. And by that time, the rabbit was ready to be served, but my dad didn't seem like he cared about wanting to eat anything at that point. But it was an interesting experience seeing how rabbit stew was made by my father. So that was an interesting thing. And boy, talking about plants for the yards, when I was working on the yard yesterday, I noticed a couple of horse chestnuts had sprung up in the yard with trees starting, and they were about 1 foot tall, the leaves on it, and then I pulled them out and they had the horse chestnut base to it that was sprouting out. And I looked through the neighborhood. I don't know any place in the neighborhood we have a horse chestnut tree, but I guess the squirrels they bring them into the yard and plant them, so it was kind of interesting to see. I don't want any horse chestnut trees in my neighborhood, in my yard, so it's a weeding process. You can pull them up out of the ground pretty easily, and they got the big bulb on the end of them. So that was an interesting factor that I ran into yesterday afternoon. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM, so I'm going to move it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Okay, KD7QKU here again. Well, Jim, I ate lots of rabbit when I was a young guy. I started out with 20 female rabbits. They called them does, and I had 1 buck. And then I was supposedly going to sell fryer rabbits. So, you know, you have 20, and then pretty soon you have 120. Because each one of the females will have 2 or 3 little ones, and next thing you know. And so I've had a sign out, you know, for fryer rabbits, and I sold a few of them, but they accumulated faster than I could sell them, so we would eat them. And then as time went by, I didn't take care of them, and so my dad put me out of the rabbit business too. So anyway, yeah. So what I used to get in my yard, Dave, was holly, and I assumed it was from the birds. I think the birds would eat the holly berries and then set up in the tree and go poop, and the seed would land on the ground. So I was always having holly plants. If you come up, there was a couple of holly bushes around the neighborhood. Chestnuts, I don't know. Somebody, oh, that was James. What is a baby rabbit called? Just a baby rabbit, I guess. I don't know. I suppose there is a name for it. Gee, you blew my train of thought now. Last night it was Alec's birthday. He's 14. He's Joanne's niece's youngest son. So we went over to his Doug and Phyllis, Joanne's sister and brother-in-law, his grandparents. They have the biggest house, and it accommodates the family quite well. So we all went over there and watched the Mariners game, and had cake and ice cream and talked and visited. Didn't get home till about 10:30. But nice kid. And, kids are sure growing up, that's for sure. They're growing up fast. They all have. He doesn't have a girlfriend yet. All the rest of them have girlfriends or boyfriends. So he had a girlfriend for a little while, I guess, but something happened. But he's 14, still a little bit young. So anyway, I guess that's it for now. James can tell me what baby rabbits are coming. Back to that KD7QKU.
QKU, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see. What else exciting is going on? Auburn Airport is going to be closed beginning Monday for approximately a month. I'm not sure exactly what all they're doing. I think they're resurfacing the runway, and I don't know what else they're doing. But it's going to be approximately a month that they're closed down. So we've had a bunch of airplanes coming from Auburn over to here, and so the place is full now. Quite a difference. I was kind of expecting a friend of mine to bring his airplane by here, but I guess he can still do it tomorrow. Although it was kind of much of the day we had rain here, and I understand tomorrow is supposed to be a little bit worse weather-wise, so we'll see what happens. At least the next week may not be real good for flying, so maybe some guys will be stuck, unable to get their airplanes away from Auburn Airport for a while, but it has to be done every now and then. Actually, it needs to be done here where I am, but no one seems to be taking the initiative to go ahead and pull the trigger on accomplishing that, resurfacing the runway. So it'll be good for a few more years, but it should be done anyway. Let's see. Oh, I know. I heard somewhere, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that the company MFJ, manufacturer of amateur radio accessories, I heard that they are going to be closing their doors in the near future. So if anyone is interested in getting anything from them, we have a limited amount of time in which to do that. Although I would bet they have a pretty fair inventory. And it seems to me that they have a couple of other companies which they own. One company manufactures antennas, and in fact I have two MFJ antennas which I like. Yeah, Martin Dewey, that's it. May 17th, the company something or other. Yeah, I have a vertical, which I originally bought when I was originally getting into amateur television, It does 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and 23 centimeters, which is why I bought it. And I was actually able to see something with it, but very poorly. So I've had to upgrade my antennas ever since then. And I have another vertical antenna, which I like a lot, although the last time I put a roof on this place, I took it down and did not have a chance to put it back up. It does 6 meters, 220, 440, and 6, 2, 220, and 440. I must have missed one the last time I tried to say that. I don't know. Anyway, so have to investigate that in a little more detail. Looks like Jim has some information there on that. Bellevue Jim pulled up some information. So I'll read that in a little bit. Thank you, Jim, for doing that. So that's sad. They've been around a long time. I have a couple of their products. Matter of fact, I have a world clock here, which has their initials stamped on it. I've been happy with them. So take a look if there's anything you want. I might not be able to get it for much longer. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
WW7ATS and get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Let's go to James, WU7N.
This is James, WU7N, Northeast Bellevue. Well, a lot of good information flying around tonight. Ron, I can't think of the time I've ever skinned a rabbit. I think maybe I watched it being done once, but I don't think I've ever done it myself. Certainly enough. If we ever get another rabbit population explosion, though, I think I will try that. I mean, YouTube can tell me how, or we can get a Zoom call going and you can tell me how. I had no idea you were a rabbit mogul in your youth. No doubt it was a big hit for the meat markets when your dad shut you down there. There is a famous documentary. Its title is Pets or Meat, and it's about a lady who's it's all about the auto shutdown of the Northeast, and this lady says, okay, we got to do something here. We got to have food to eat. We got to get some kind of cash flow going. So she starts to raise rabbits. And she puts a sign out on the side of the road that says pets or meat, meaning, you can have these rabbits and make a pet out of it, or you can, eat them. And the FDA came and shut her down because it was not FDA approved, meat to sell. So she could only sell them as pets. But the camera follows the FDA food inspector around and follows her around, and she, going back and forth. And of course, the question by the end of the documentary is, do the automakers that employed almost everybody in that area, do they consider the people pets or meat? Or maybe they really are, treat everybody like a pet, but really no, they're all just going to be meat. It's just kind of the question that kind of comes out that the documentary ends on. Anyway, thank you for the information, Jim, on MFJ Enterprises. It says this announcement, so I'm going to have to read more up on this, just like you, because it says they're ceasing on-site production, and Ameritron, High-Gain, Cushcraft, Mirage, and Vectronics, those are all big names in communication. So it says they're ceasing production. Does that mean the production is just going to India or going to China? Or, because I can't believe they're just going to let those brands just die off. I mean, those brands have value. Someone would pay you money for certainly a name like High-Gain or Cushcraft, I would think. I've seen those brand names of antennas on, like, police cars and fire trucks, but maybe somebody else is doing that now. Next time I go look at a fire truck, I'm going to have to see what the brand is on the antennas. Search work's required, but it does seem like we are living in times where there seems to be a lot of shaking out. I gave Dairy Queen one more chance, and they failed. I got a coupon in the mail. I went and ordered like a double stacked cheeseburger, and the meat just sort of tasted kind of a combination of freezer burn and like they had half meat and half cardboard ground up to make the hamburger patty. It was not really good at all. And in my brain, of course, I remember Dairy Queen having the flame broiled burgers and the very nice smell that would come out of the top of all the Dairy Queens in Texas, and these delicious juicy burgers. Maybe it's better in my brain than it really was at the time. But I remember in Texas there was two things you had to have to be incorporated as a town. You had to have a Dairy Queen and you had to have a National Guard armory. And for the Dairy Queen, it's obvious that so the town would continue to eat even after the tornado blew everything else away. But the National Guard Armory is an interesting story in that they had some very, very senior senator who'd been a senator forever. He had great amounts of seniority. And he was the head of the Armed Services Committee, I think it was, in the Senate. And so every time just about any bill cleared the Senate, he would, as a piece of pork, he would require, them to build another National Guard armory in some other Texas town, in somewhere in his state. So I do remember there were a lot of National Guard armories in Texas and Oklahoma. I always thought it was because, of all the tornadoes. So you would have immediately this fortified building that would survive and people could go in there. I didn't know it was all just political pork. Maybe it was both. I'd like to think it was both. So anyway, Dairy Queen, I guess, is going to have to survive off frosty treats because I'm not buying any more hamburgers. I also tried to buy some chicken strips, 2 pieces of toast, and some fries. The fries were okay, not great, but okay. The toast, I could do better at home. And the chicken strips weren't that bad. It's just that after I ate them, I sort of felt like I had to go lie down for a while. That's never a good sign. Yeah, I'm afraid Dairy Queen, they've got a lot of improvement. I don't know if they'll ever bounce back from COVID or not. But I think there's a lot of shaking out in a lot of different industries. But I'll keep my eye on all those brand names for all those antennas, because I can't help but think someone would buy those brand names. 7 minutes after the hour, I just like to say, anybody who's listening out there, I've been hearing some clicks on my radio. I don't know if someone's trying to get in. You're welcome to check in and check out just to see if your radio's working, or join our conversation. Just let Dave, KT7ZYM, our net control, know which you want, and you can always say hi to us. So let me turn it back to Dave. This is James, WW7N. Go ahead, Dave.
7N, this is Dave, KT7ZYM. Oh my, the conversations about skinning animals. But that brought back some memories when I was in eastern Washington. I had an uncle that had a wheat field, and my uncle was out in the field plowing, and I said, well, what's he doing? And the terminology was skinning the cat. And I guess that's that terminology they use in eastern Washington when you're plowing up the field prior to planting wheat, is skinning the cat. So terminology in different areas are really interesting. And let's see, other bad news was Southwest Airlines no longer going to go into Bellingham, so they're cut that off of the tour. I think that's in September. They dropped one location for a pickup, so I guess there'd be no direct flights to Bellingham with Southwest Airline anymore after September. So this is Dave, KT7ZYM. So let's go up to Ron, KT7QKU.
KT7QKU here. Well, today when I walked into the Tacoma Radio Club, and I walked into the room there where these half a dozen guys are that I have sort of hung out with, they were talking about MFJ, and now I know why. One guy had an antenna on a handheld, kind of a long antenna, and they'd taken it off and they were passing it around. and I suppose it was from Japan or something, or I mean China or something. And they were all saying that it worked really well. And so they're, probably there's a lot of things that made in China now that compete with MFJ, I suppose. And they were talking about that, they have Mirage and they have Astron. They have a bunch of companies that they have rolled into MFJ for sure. And they were saying that they thought the quality was better today than it was, years ago. It used to be called Mighty Fine Junk, but everybody was saying that it was pretty good stuff. It lasted quite well. So, and then I guess it was Jim, mentioned the armories, National Guard armories. So when we go to Magnolia and go across the Magnolia Bridge here from 15th Street, off on the right-hand side, you look down there in the valley by the railroad tracks, and that's, I think, is where there's an armory and there's a bunch of vehicles outside. And it just doesn't seem like there's enough stuff there. And every time not every time, but quite often when I go across there and I look down and see their trucks and stuff, I say to my wife, man, I hope we have to depend on those guys to save us or defend us, because I don't think they have enough equipment to do it. In my opinion, it's a pretty small armory. I suppose there's one in Tacoma. I don't know where it is. There was not one in my hometown, but there was one in an adjacent town. So I don't know. Maybe they're few and far between in Orson. You said they were pretty popular in Texas. So let's see. I don't know what time it is, but it seems like it's been going around pretty fast. Let's see. I'm trying to think what everybody else was talking about. I guess that's it. Turn it over to Dave and see where we go. KD7QKU.
KD7QKU. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Jim, Dairy Queen, yeah, they had the Brazier burgers. And also there was one close to my house here. They had a weekly meal special. I don't remember exactly what it was because I didn't go there because I didn't like what they had. It must have been chicken or something like that. But I had two friends who would go there it was either Tuesdays or Wednesdays for this meal that they would have. And that place has since closed down, unfortunately. And other things have closed down around here too. There used to be an Arby's, that's gone. There used to be a Burger King, that's gone. I don't know. People are leaving. Don't know what's going on. Armories. Yeah, I don't know where there are any armories around now, but in the past I remember I drive by an armory and all kinds of vehicles there, and then at some point, I don't know, a decade ago or so, I drive by and it's like, aren't they supposed to have a bunch of vehicles there? But I didn't see that many, so I don't know what happened. If we left them in some foreign country or something, I don't know what happened exactly. Going back to rabbits, okay, I happen to have this thought. As a youth, I was able to buy a rabbit foot. They would sell, the stores would sell a rabbit foot, which you could carry around as a sort of talisman, a good luck charm, so to speak. And I don't know if at some point it became politically incorrect or what, but I haven't seen one of those in, decades now. But that's an interesting thought. Maybe, I wonder if there's a market for rabbit's feet nowadays. I don't know, just a thought. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
7QO. Well, the only thing I can think about, a good luck charm on a rabbit's foot, it wasn't lucky for the rabbit. Oh, well, let's go on to James, WU7N.
First thought that occurs to me, I think you'd probably be required to supply prosthetics for all of the rabbits and prove that, the rabbits were being taken care of and, had little handicap steps in their hutches and everything like that if you were going to, do the rabbit's foot thing. I'm kind of amazed. Every time I hear there's a new species that's about driven to extinction, it's usually because somebody in the world thinks their, gallbladder has some magic healing properties or something. There's several critters like that have been, I can't think of any of them right now, but there's several critters that, because there's some organ in a bear that's in high demand in Asia. And so for a while there was a special task force to stop the bear poaching or something. I'm not quite exactly sure how you do that, but because people were shooting these bears and just leaving the whole thing, it's just a terrible waste. They were leaving the whole thing there, but it's missing one organ. I did read a little bit more of the ARL announcement that I put in the digital side chat, and it looks like they have stock on hand and they're going to continue to sell the stock, but he's saying that COVID hit them hard and they never recovered from COVID. So when it comes to the fast food places, I think inflation has really taken its toll on fast food. I used to hit fast food, once or twice a week, especially with I was just such a sucker for the coupons. But it's made it so expensive now. The food isn't that great. Also, the food quality's dropped. I remember Burger King really put out a quality product and would put out coupons. It was something like $3 for 2 burgers and 2 fries or something like that. The chicken strips I got at Dairy Queen, I had a big special whoop-de-doo coupon. It was still $10. And, not really that great. Not a huge portion. It's not something you're going to make 2 meals or 3 meals out of. So I think there's going to be a lot of shake-up in the fast food business. A friend of mine was saying a Red Robin burger and onion rings was something like $25 or something. That is just mind-numbing to me. I mean, you really do have to be in a 6-figure a year income bracket to shell out that kind of money. And even then, I think you need to be young and flexible. Is that the word for it? Rich and flexible. Hey, there's still time for all of us to do all that. Yeah, or maybe we'll be forced to be 1 out of 2. I'm not sure. Well, I see we just got a couple minutes left, so let me turn it back to our net control Dave. My name is James, WU7N Northeast Bellevue. Thanks for participating tonight. Interesting thoughts and observations. Dave, go ahead, take it away.
WU7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM. I think in defense of some of these small franchise hamburger joints is the cost of labor. Is a lot of the fast food joints, had labor costs, with the high school teenager working for about $12 an hour so they could put out a 25-cent hamburger. But now the price keeps going up and up to $20 an hour in some places, and these restaurants just can't hack the overhead for the finances for labor. So I guess automation is going to come in here pretty soon with robotics to try to replace some of the cooking staff. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the future. But the price of labor has just got too expensive. And here in Seattle, we've just had a similar thing with DoorDash picking up food to take it to homes, where the city of Seattle slapped on a $5 fee for the pickup on top of the other expenses. This caused a lot of turmoil. Drivers weren't picking up orders because people didn't want to pay the extra $5. So it's in a way, supply and demand, I guess, will be the main thing for the market in the future. And I guess it's time to terminate the net. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. on the 08 machine. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeaters Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, terminating the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.